This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
All right, Vern.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission for September 9th, 2019. My name is Vern Carlson, and I am the chairman of the commission. Tonight we have a couple of public hearings and some site plans. Looks like a relatively short agenda, but before we get started, let me get around to introducing our staff, which is Andy Bellavacqua, out to my extreme right. He's our town engineer. Next to him is Alan Fredrickson, land use administrator. To my extreme left is Mary Lee Radjuski, our court reporter. And next to her is Pam Miller. She is our staff secretary. With that, Jim.
Jim Giletti, regular member.
Teresa Ranciato Healy, regular member.
Ron Penton, Vice Chair.
Richard Wilson, Secretary.
Alternate. Okay. With that being said, we have Ed Homer is our alternate who is missing tonight. He will not be here. And Joe Salamini, he will not be here, I don't believe. So we're missing those two, but we have a full staff in any event. With that, let me see, Alan, is there any changes to the agenda?
There are a few changes. Item number 3, P1925, involving 79T, 87, 87T, et cetera, Warner Road is off. So that'll be heard next month, hopefully on October 7th. Item 5 and item 6 involving 400 Sackett Point Road, P1928, P1928A. Those have been postponed at the applicant's request or need to next month. Items 7 and 8, P1930, P1930A, have also been postponed. They were unable to get through wetlands this month. So.
Okay. Well, that being said, if anyone is here for any one of those applications, they'll not be heard tonight, of course. How this works is the applicant will present the application, and the commission will do whatever they have to do as far as their questioning, and then on the public hearings, we'll open it up to the public, who's in favor, who isn't in favor, who's opposed. And of course, in the site plans, there is no public input, and also in deliberation, there is no public input. We do have an executive session tonight at the end of the meeting with Jennifer Capola, our town engineer, and that is certainly closed to everyone. With that being said, would our secretary please read in the 8-24?
The application of Middletown 102. No.
One above that.
824.
I'm sorry.
What did I say?
It's just confusion.
824 referral. P19-29, application of the town of North Haven for the acquisition of the recently subdivided parcel known as 3022 and 3030 Ridge Road for open space land.
Good evening. Lynn Sadowski, Director of Public Works for the Town of North Haven. Here to request a 8-24 referral for the Yates property of 3022 and 3030 Ridge Road, 14.7 acre parcel off of Ridge, which was subdivided, had gone through inland wetlands and through your commission last month. And one of the questions that had come up was we had a very small piece of land in Hamden, and Bernie Pellegrino, who represents the Yates family, has spoken to Quinnipiac University, and they're going to append it and accept that small parcel. It's about 0.01 acres. So I'm here tonight to request a Section 8-24 referral to the Board of Selectmen next. Thank you.
Okay, that's pretty much straightforward. 824 is an 824. Jim?
What's the difference in what this one we did last time? Last time was it the subdivision approval?
Correct.
And the piece that Quinnipiac's going to take, does this land, the back of it abut Quinnipiac?
It does, yes.
That's all I, that's my only question.
Teresa? Ron?
What's that?
All of our questions were last
Right.
month.
Rich?
I'm also.
Okay. Lynn, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll deliberate on that in deliberation. Okay, thank you. Okay, Rich, would you read in P19-28,
24.
24?
Come on.
My 8s and 4s are a little bit shaky tonight.
Application of Middletown 102 LLC. Applicant proposed amendment to the North Haven zoning regulations to amend section 4.4.2 and add section 4.4.1.39 and section 4.3.11 to permit residential apartments above the first floor commercial use in a CD-20 zoning district along Quinnipiac Avenue and Middletown Avenue. The proposed amendment is on file in the Land Use Office and in the Office of the Town Clerk.
Gentlemen?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Attorney Tim Hollister from Hartford, representing the applicant. I was last here 2 years ago on the Slade School. Nice to see you all again. With me, one of the principals of the applicant LLC is Joe Iamono, and next to him is John Gilmore from Malone & McBroom, who's our consulting professional engineer. I'm just giving you some background or some supplemental materials dated today, which I'll refer to in our presentation, and you should also have our original application package, which has a July 8th date on the cover. And I do want to thank Mr. Frederickson, who's been very helpful in getting our application pulled together and brought to you tonight. Now, this is a zoning text amendment that would affect the CB20 zone, but as is often the case, the applicant has a particular parcel in mind. So what I'm going to try to do in our presentation is, number one, consider the town's overall land use policies, which you want to do in any text amendment. Make the recognition that if we amend the CB20 zone rules, it has to work for all qualifying parcels in the CB20 zone, but we're also going to use 102 Middletown Avenue, which is the piece of property in the CB20 zone that my applicant client owns, that we want to use as the illustration of the concept that we have to present tonight. So on the board here, and by the way, what I have on the board here, you have a copy of in front of you. In what I just gave you, tab 1 is aerial and ground level photographs of 102 Middletown Avenue. Number 2 is an aerial photograph with the zones in the area overlaid on it. And then tab 3 is some architectural and landscaping illustrations that we will use to show you how this parcel could be developed in accordance with the regulations that we're proposing to revise. So just a little bit about the, again, I'll start at the end, the lot itself. 102 Middletown Avenue, which is this property right here. It's 0.37 acres, has sewer and water. It is a vacant commercial building. My understanding, I'm not intimately familiar with the history, but my understanding is that it has been before the town's Blight Commission. It's been considered for commercial redevelopment without success over more than 10 years. The building is about 2,500 square feet, one story, and as I said, at the end of tab 1 is a ground level photograph of the existing building. So there are essentially no residential neighbors, which I think is part of the thought process behind a mixed use. And the basic thinking here is that, given the history that I gave you and the parcel and its location and so forth, that it's appropriate for a small mixed-use development, first floor commercial and apartments above. And we haven't really gotten to the point of a residential floor plan, but we can talk about some of the possibilities that exist given the dimensions of the site. So if you've looked at the July 8th package, we've presented the amendment in three parts. The first part is to add a new 4.4.1.39, which would allow the basic mixed use, a first floor commercial use with apartments above. A revised, essentially a third column for the CB20 zone of section 4.4.2, the bulk and dimensions that would govern the mixed use. And then finally, a new section 4.4.3.11, specific standards to govern the use, including criteria for a special permit so that you have the discretion to impose conditions on any eventual site plan. I will say, and I've discussed this somewhat with Mr. Frederickson, in drafting this, we tried not to reinvent the wheel. We tried to essentially take the components of your existing regulations, including the CB20 zone, the residence apartment or RA zone, and the office apartment zone or OA zone. So we tried to do that. That said, I will be very candid and say we have not at this point taken it to the level of trying to give you highly detailed or specific controls on things like driveway location and architectural requirements, parking, landscaping, minimum floor area. The basic idea tonight is to introduce you and get your feedback, if we can, on the concept of a mixed-use development at this location. And if you give us even a yellow light on that, we would propose to come back and do some more work with Mr. Frederickson. He did aptly point out that the preliminary site plan that is in our materials does not strictly comply with some of your landscaping standards, and we recognize that and we agree with that, and we would come back and after tonight and try to give you more detail if the concept is acceptable. So a couple notes regarding the amendment. As to the residential use, very clear rule, not on the first floor. We would envision that we will stay within the maximum building height of the CB20 zone, which is 35 feet, but no residential on the first floor. We've also imposed a 25-unit maximum total residential units, which is, I will admit, is probably on the high side. The realistic number is probably less than that, but and certainly no more than a two-bedroom. Mr. Frederickson has pointed out, again aptly in his comments, that we haven't expressed the density in units per acre. We certainly can do that. The way we started was a maximum number of residential units. And certainly we can add minimum floor area, minimum ceiling height, and other amenities and dimensions to make sure that this would be a quality level that you would find acceptable. As far as the commercial use, very clear rule, only those commercial uses that would be compatible with a second floor residential. Specific uses prohibited would be gas stations, automobile repair, nightclubs, other things that just would not be compatible with residential. The standards, we've required that we must follow the CB20 rules, especially the building height. The principal way in which we have amended the CB20 rules regards the front yard, side yard, and rear yard, and that there is actually precedent for doing that elsewhere in the CB20 zone, section 4.4.3. We have committed ourselves generally to a high quality of architecture and landscaping, with the understanding that the greater detail on that would come if you think the concept is worth pursuing. The parking, we proposed 1.0 spaces per bedroom, with the provision for limited shared parking with the commercial use. I mean, obviously, this is not going to be a large traffic generator, and because it's a mixed use, shared parking is a familiar concept. So at this point, I want to ask Mr. Gilmore to just give you a little more detail of the physical lay of the site that we're looking at for development and the surrounding uses.
Thank you, Tim. My name is John Gilmore. I'm a registered professional engineer in Connecticut, and I'm with Milone McBroom. As Attorney Hollister said, all of these boards that I have here are contained in your package. So on this one, this is a small scale to give you an idea of the general the area. So Middletown Avenue here, Quinnipiac Avenue here, both state routes, and you can see the mixed use industry, the mixes of zoning through the site. You have industrial zone here, you have the CB zone. And I'm just going to show you, this is a blow-up of the same site. So what we have is a building on the site right now that has a footprint of about 2,820 square feet according to the town assessor records. It has about 220 feet of frontage along Middletown, I'm sorry, about 216 feet along Middletown Avenue, and about 220 feet along Quinnipiac Avenue. Presently, the site is largely paved, although in a state of disrepair. There are 4 driveway cuts presently, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 of them come off of Quinnipiac, 2 of them off of Middletown Avenue. The concept that we propose would be to basically place a building in this general location, probably somewhat larger of a footprint than what's shown right now, if the zone text change is approved. Parking would be on the exterior of the site, but there'd also be some interior parking spaces as well, including handicap spots. So the lower level, if we were to implement the regulation that's being proposed, we would have commercial somewhere in the front of the building here that would be compatible, as Attorney Hollister said, with the residential uses above it, and perhaps some parking in the rear with the balance of the surface parking in this location. All the utilities necessary to support this are available: sanitary sewer, water, electric, and all the other private utilities that would be necessary. They're both on Quinnipiac Avenue on Middletown, and also on Middletown Avenue. So at some point in time, if the regulation is approved, we'll be back with a proposed site plan that's compatible with the regulation. Thank you.
And then just to finish off the illustration of how the mixed use might play out, if you look at tab 3 of what I handed out tonight, this is it on a presentation board. Again, this is conceptual. It's to give you an idea. I would say this is more focused on the building height and the architecture than the landscaping. Certainly, we would want to dress up the landscaping and make it more substantial. But just to give you an idea of what the existing building looks like and what the parcel could look like with a 2 stories residential above a first floor commercial. Just to give you an idea of how that might fit. And again, if there's interest in the concept and even in this type of architecture, we would work with Mr. Frederickson after tonight to make sure that we present you with a further revision of the regulation that would essentially lock in the details that you like and make sure that the eventual site plan would be something that you could, and special permit would be something that you could look at as in conformance with the regulations that have been adopted by agreement. So that's it for our presentation, Mr. Chairman, and obviously happy to answer any questions.
Well, just let me ask you, before I open up to the commission, what is your calculation, or your rough calculation, as your parking area conclusive on this site?
Well, the overall site is about 37,000 square feet, I believe. The building footprint is about, right now, as Mr. Gilmore said, about 2,800. I don't know that we've actually, we haven't really done a site plan per se.
Done nothing on that, huh?
We could certainly do that for a continued hearing. But, so I think we would start with what is an appropriate ratio and whether shared parking would be an appropriate concept. And then, obviously, there has to be a match between the number and size of the proposed units and the parking spaces. So, I don't think anybody's suggesting that we're going to scrimp on parking. We will provide a parking plan that, with landscaped islands and so forth, so that it looks nice. But, so I can give you more detail on that.
Well, I know I'm way ahead of it,
Yeah.
This is just an amendment, but I didn't want to, thought maybe you could help me out on that. But let me open up the commission, and you're all set on your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can we just mark what Attorney Hollister submitted as Exhibit A, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al.
Sir.
Jim, do you want to?
Well, just for education and to let the public know, you did give us, and I know it's not a full site plan, but you gave us essentially kind of what you perceive this to look like. And if I'm not mistaken, for this site, and I know the amendment applies to all CB20, but for this site, it would really have 2 front yards effectively, correct,
Yeah,
under our
sure.
regulations?
Yes.
And the CB20 front yard regulation calls for 50-foot setback, which you are trying to reduce to 15, essentially.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
And the rear yard, although I guess it's a side yard, is that the back?
Correct,
The back of
yeah.
that building we think would be a side?
Correct,
We're going to go
yes.
down to 5 feet next door to the property, right?
Right. Well, essentially, it's 2 front yards and a rear yard.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, 2 front, according to this, it looks like they're considering the back a side.
Yeah, I think the
Right.
back is called a side, but
Right.
no
And
one's
that's what
arguing
your
with the
sides are
numbers.
called.
But that's what your
Yeah.
diagram says. That's what it says.
That's the challenge of this particular site.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of the problem that I see for me. You know, it's too much for a little lot. I understand what happens on that lot, and people drive through that lot, and it's between 2 highways. So we've got to look at the regulation as a whole for all the CB20, and for my 2 cents, I just don't see any reason to change the regulation. That's kind of where I am.
Teresa?
Well, a couple of things. Can you tell me how far CB20 goes up Quinnipiac Avenue?
Yeah, in terms of illustrating that.
Well,
the
I see
package
that, but,
that he handed out, I'm trying to, I don't have a,
does it really end there? I mean, I can identify it on the map, but I wanted to know, and I didn't go back to my office to look at our zoning
well,
map.
let's take a look, and, while we,
Because that's gonna, now you're affecting a lot more properties up Middletown and Quinnipiac Avenue.
no, let me just, without decapitating the town engineer, but, we can, just
Here we are, over here.
looking
CD.
at that, yeah, that leg of it is relatively short, and I think it's accurate. I'm sure Mr. Gilmore.
Right, the
created
Middleton
that.
Avenue one is
Yeah,
accurate.
it seems like kind of a short distance in a drawing. I suspect that it is accurate. It extends a little farther up Quinnipiac, a
So,
little bit farther.
okay, does it go up to Monowese?
Oh, no.
Okay, it stops down here, it looks like. Okay, all right, that answers my
Yeah.
question. Okay, thank
Is
you.
that the only part of town
Now,
that
let me
has a
see that.
CB20?
Yeah.
I'm just looking,
No, there's CB20 in other parts of town.
yeah, that was kind of my
Right.
question.
Their zoning is limiting,
Say again?
their amendment is limiting to the streets that it can be on.
Well, I
Yeah, that
I see
around
that,
Middletown.
right.
It'll narrow it down even more.
Is there
Right.
any, if it were to go through, I don't see anything talking about affordable units.
We have not proposed that.
I'm sorry, could you? Okay,
Yes, I'm sorry. No, there's no part of our proposal that touches on affordable housing.
has that been considered? That's something this board has been
Well,
looking at?
Well, I would say when apartments are proposed, it's always considered, but my client LLC decided that they wanted to make a market rate proposal. I mean, it's pretty small. As you may know, I have done a fair amount of affordable housing in my work, and in general, I would say the sweet spot of affordable housing is more at the low end than the number of units that are possible on this site. So,
I don't know what that
I
statement
was just
meant.
gonna go like this, what does
What
that
did that
exactly mean?
Well, when you do affordable housing with
Yeah.
a so-called set-aside, you're setting aside at least 30% of your units
Right.
for moderate income households.
That's a lot.
That's a discount to the market rent that you can provide.
Okay.
Basically, the market rate units subsidize your ability to have lower rents on 30%.
Right.
The smaller the number of units, the more difficult it is to make that work economically.
Economic.
Okay,
So
but
I'm
that-
saying,
Fair
so
enough. Now I understand
generally,
what you
to pick a number below 25 units it's hard to make that calculation work. Now, there are some parcels where that works because if you have low development costs or low land costs or wherever, but in general, I will say, we considered it in the conceptual sense and decided it was certainly not the first choice as to how to develop this.
I can see that from the client's side. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
All right.
okay.
All
Well, but
right.
just so that we're clear, that means it pushes us back further.
Right, so
Right, as a town, because we're adding more units with none of them affordable. So our formula's already not good, so this would make that formula
Okay.
worse,
All
right?
right. Well,
Yes.
well, if you want to get into the weeds, on the so-called 10% list, I'm not sure development of this size is going to make a difference for the town either way.
Well, if every one of these parcels is developed,
Well, if
it
every
would,
one of these
right?
parcels-
And every one could be developed if your regulation were approved.
I wasn't projecting out that far,
Okay,
but that,
fair
I see your point, yes.
Okay, go ahead, Vern.
Yeah.
I still have more, but I'm going to defer.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump.
Okay, Ron, you have something in here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that most people would like to see something done to improve that lot, but in general, I just think you're trying to cram too much into too small a parcel. I mean, of the 7, heights and widths and setbacks, you're changing 5 of them by not little amounts, but by gross amounts. Parking, doesn't look to me like you've got any spare parking for visitors or anything. It's been commented about high-quality design, and yet, as Alan pointed out, there's no way to measure high-quality design.
Well, I was trying to say...
Let me finish.
Okay, sure.
The density is just way too high. There's not enough landscaping. I mean, you just trying to fit too much. There's no way that, and you're not proposing any affordability component, and I'm not a math whiz, but I don't see why the size of the project makes any difference. But there isn't, unfortunately, a single reason that I can see voting for this amendment. I don't see where it does anything for the town.
Okay.
So, that's just me.
You good to go? No?
Yeah.
Rich?
I mean, it seems that you're trying to squeeze a lot on that small piece of property. Especially you're taking away all your sideline buffer and the rear line, or whatever you want to call it, the frontage and the sides. It's a spot that the town would love to see, the public would like to see that building changed, but it just seems like you're pushing too much onto that small piece of land. And then if we give you those rights, it will go for another small piece of property. So I think you're just doing too much.
You good, Rich?
Yep.
Yep, okay. Lou?
Impossible.
Impossible? Okay. Well, the consensus of the commission seems to be too much on too little.
Okay.
But if it doesn't look too strong to get approval on this site, simply the way we're looking at it right now. But I'm going to open this up to the public.
Well, I have one more thing to
I'm sorry.
add, too.
Yeah, okay.
Just one more. I mean, you're asking for apartments, you're putting 2 bedrooms. The odds of somebody coming in with children. So there's absolutely nothing on this site to even make this site remotely safe for any child to walk out without pumping into the car, the 5-foot side yard, or the 15 feet on each side of those highways. So that's another consideration, and we have looked at other apartments coming up in this town, and that's something this board considers.
Well, I can tell you that's something we did consider, and, in general, and the data proved this year after year, 1- and 2-bedroom rentals, especially on the smaller square footage size, generally do not have school-aged children in them. 3-bedroom or single-family home where you start to see the school-aged children. So it is frankly not likely that there would be any household that with school-aged children that would view this as an ideal location. Obviously, we haven't contemplated a so-called tot lot, but that's just, there are some developments that just have that concept. Not that it's age restricted or even restricted to families that don't have children, but it's not going to be the first place that a household with school-age children is going to want to live.
No,
So, Mr.
okay,
Chairman,
but we have some in North Haven that have school-age children that are 2 bedrooms, so.
I'm sure there are some.
Right.
I think this type of two-bedroom in this location would not attract that type of family. Mr. Chairman, before you open it up, could I just go back one step?
Sure, by all means.
I'm feeling a little chagrined at my presentation. I tried to express at the outset that we really came here looking for whether the commission would be amenable to the idea of a mixed-use concept on this site. Everything that the commissioners have said about the side yards are aggressive and, number of units and landscaping, that is there any encouragement for the applicant to come back and take another shot at it for your hearing next month? I hear your concerns. I think I see where you'd like us to take it. I think we actually can maybe get to a proposal both on the amendment side and in the illustrative site plan side that will deal with all the comments, the apt comments that have been made tonight. So now, if you tell me, Alistair, you're dreaming, go home and have a drink, okay?
I got you.
But if there's any possibility of reviewing a revised proposal that takes into account Commissioner Giulietti's and Mr. Penn's and your other comments, I'd just like to know that before we leave tonight.
Well, of course, and I wish I could give you some encouragement on that part, but I will the commission will talk this over in deliberation in respect to just exactly what you're talking about. But at this place, it's certainly, it's a stretch to do a lot with this on a mixed use. The site is so small and it's so conspicuous, it's a focal point on that whole Four Corners down there. That Four Corners has been a history in North Haven. Everybody looks at that thing and they're looking for something to be very compatible to look at, compatible with the area and what it is, but I don't think it's this, but we'll discuss it in deliberation, and if you stick around a little bit.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think what Attorney Hollister is asking is should he request to keep it open such that, is it worth keeping it open such that he could revise and somewhat give you a counter proposal, if you will? And not that anyone on a commission has been unclear, but just maybe to offer up a little history on this. I think the commission's been very consistent with the Upper Washington Avenue comments that you've made relative to 441 and 447 Washington, relative to 404 Washington Avenue, where in particular Ron and Teresa have really emphasized this green space. You haven't got a lot of room there, but that's part of the reason they're giving you comments. These are consistent comments
The
with what they
affordable
offer.
piece is also consistent.
There's a lot to it, but if you let us get into deliberation, it'd be okay.
And the affordability component is another thing, as Jim has pointed out, they don't like to go backwards even one unit, so if they're gonna prove something, they want to make an incremental increase, even if it's only sort of a gesture or what have you, but just to try and do that, so.
Okay, well, Ron is gonna,
To answer your specific question, I have no objection to a mixed-use proposal, but it would have to be dramatically less aggressive.
I would like to accept your challenge.
Okay, I'm
Oh,
not
yeah,
sure what it means, but for
Yeah.
my 2 cents, I find it very hard to imagine a scenario where this will work.
Okay, I take you at your word. All I'm saying is, I think the applicant would like to try.
That's fine.
Between now and the next meeting, we may decide it's not worth it and withdraw, but I just don't want to close the hearing and have to start over again.
Okay.
let me get the
The
public.
applicant's entitled to try, so
Right.
we certainly don't have any problem with that.
Okay. Finally, there must be somebody here interested in this. Is there anyone here who wants to speak in favor of this application?
Yes.
By all means.
Hi, my name is Jeff Smalley. I've been a resident of North Haven for 18 years. I've had twins that have been raised in the North...
Excuse me, sir. I need your address.
27 LeGrand Road, North Haven. 27 LeGrand Road,
Okay.
North Haven. I'm going to start by asking the commission, has anybody traveled outside of North Haven?
Thank you for
Yeah, bring it
asking,
on.
but absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Why?
First off, I'm going to say I'm very much in favor of this project. Look at cities outside of North Haven: Atlanta, Georgia, New York, Boston, operating in mixed-use space, right? To build projects like this, to build traffic to the cities, that build revenue. Our job as residents for North Haven are to build revenue for the town. We have restaurants building in town, we have businesses coming to town. I have a particular interest or a specialty for the last 25 years of my business is introducing businesses to the marketplace. And in doing so, I'm looking at particular businesses to bring them to North Haven. I think this is the forgotten corridor that has been an eyesore for many years. So outside of the 95 corridor, the 91 corridor, the 17 corridor coming into North Haven, this is the gateway into North Haven. So I hear words such as affordable housing, less aggressive, kids. One of the areas for demographics that everybody is looking for is millennials. And what are millennials not doing? They're not buying houses right now. They're looking for luxury rentals. This is a perfect access for rentals to come into North Haven and drive that traffic into North Haven for revenue for the businesses that have sustained the growth in North Haven, that continue to use North Haven for growth. The housing is beautiful. So I asked the commission to leave this open and to give them a chance for this. What are the options that are here? To bring in a low-income rental for the town? To bring in something else that is less desirable to build crime in this area where we've had crime? I think that the commission, I would like to ask the commission to just think about this. And at the next commission, I'll come back with different statistics. I'm a staunch supporter of this project at looking for various ways to build revenue into North Haven. So that being said, I thank you for your
Okay.
time.
I'm going to just ask you when you come back to look at the difference between low income and affordable, and look at where we sit as far as housing in North Haven on that affordable curve. Okay? You
I
do
understand that.
Great.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor?
My name's Chris Taft. I'm the property owner at 35 Pool Road. I work for Metro North right down in New Haven, so I commute that route quite often. And I think the current property is a little bit of an eyesore, and I would be in favor of having it developed.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Anyone else like to speak in favor? Anyone would like to speak in opposition? Anyone in opposition, any questions? Okay, very good. Jim, you got any
Good.
further line of
If he
questioning?
wants to keep it open, I would let him keep it open.
Sure.
I
Teresa?
agree with keeping it open as well.
Fine.
Sure. Any more questions? Sure, okay. Let the record show you asked for an extension to keep this open till, this public hearing open till next month, and by all means, we'll do that. And we'll vote on it in deliberation, but we will keep it open. Okay,
Thank you for your time.
thank you very much. Okay. All right, let's see what we got next here. We're going into site plans. P19-27,
No,
151 Washington Avenue.
no.
Just, if you hold up just a second, sir, until they can clear the room.
Which is really bad, so that's why I left the doors open, thinking that it would. Well, yeah.
Which one are we doing?
This is
51
supposed to be the
Washington
bank,
Avenue?
right, yeah. That's really his brother or cousin. Brother or cousin, I can't remember. Which person? I knew him.
Okay, sure.
Right, and now he doesn't want to do it here.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Ariana Senaviva from the Senaviva Law Firm. Sure, Senaviva, C-E, N as in Nancy E, V as in Victor, I, V as in Victor, A.
And your first name again?
Ariana. And I'm from the Senaviva Law Firm. We represent the applicant. With me tonight is Rocky Pinar. He's a member of the LLC applicant, and Justin Packard, the project engineer. I'm just going to give you an introduction and an explanation of our proposal, and then I'll turn it over to our project engineer. So the parcel is 151 Washington Avenue. It is a 17,094 square feet lot, currently developed with a 5,820 square foot commercial building. The property is zoned IL30. The current building was constructed in 1952. It is non-conforming as to the front yard. It's only 65.14 feet back from the front yard property line where 75 feet is required. And it's non-conforming as to the rear yard setbacks. It's only 13.10 foot from the rear lot line where 40 feet is required. Our applicant is proposing to raise the existing building and construct a 2,302 square foot building for Citizens Bank. The proposal calls for 16 parking spaces, where your regulations require a minimum of 10 spaces. There is one proposed drive-through ATM only lane on the south side of the building, and no other banking activity will be done at the drive-through. And the building will now comply with all front yard, rear yard, and side yard requirements. So Justin will now run you through the plans.
Thank you, Ariana. For the record, my name's Justin Packard. I'm a civil engineer with Halsey Pearson Cassidy Engineering Associates.
Your last name again?
Packard, P-A-C-K-A-R-D. With Halsey Pearson Cassidy Engineering Associates out of Cromwell. So Ariana went over kind of the logistics and the numbers of the parcel details. I'm going to go over the site plan. So our property is located off the northwestern side of Washington Avenue. We're bordered to the north, west, and south side by Old Bridge stainless steel, and then we're bordered to the east by Washington Avenue. Just to give you a little idea of location, the D'Angelo's sandwich shop is across the road up here, and then Burger King is up at this intersection up here, and then there's a McDonald's and Dunkin' down the road further this way. So the existing site on this plan, the red dashed line, I'm not sure if you can see it where you're sitting, is the building line per the zoning regulations. As you can see, the existing building expands well beyond the building line in multiple directions. And you'll also notice that the entire front yard of the property is taken up by pavement for the parking area. I should also mention that it's presently being used by the Old Glory vape shop. So the parking in the front is not compliant with the zoning regulations because per the zoning regulations you need 75% of the front yard area to be, or you need 25% of the front yard area to be landscaped. So access to the site comes off of a curb cut off of Washington Avenue. The curb cut actually spans the entire frontage along Washington Avenue, with the exception of a small landscape island at the center where there's a utility pole. The drive aisle then goes around the north side of the building to the rear, where there's an existing dumpster in the back. Topography for the site is a high point at the existing building, and it slopes down towards the property lines in every direction. In the front of the property, water tends to sheet flow down the pavement of the parking area and into Washington Avenue. There's presently no stormwater systems involved with the site, so the water just flows right onto Washington Avenue and discharges to catch basins along Washington Avenue. There's also a chain link fence that's on our abutting property's property. It goes around the perimeter like this, and goes up the rear, up the back, and then up to about here. You'll also notice that there's thick vegetation along the south and western side of the property. And there's also a concrete retaining wall lining the northern property line to separate the two properties. So as Angela mentioned, we are, or Ariana, sorry. As she mentioned, we are proposing to demolish everything that's on the site existing, so that's including the building, pavement, concrete, pretty much everything. And we are proposing to put up a 2,300 square foot, one-story bank with a drive-through ATM. So we are proposing to have a new curb cut going to Washington Avenue, located at the northeastern corner of the property. It's going to be a two-way curb cut. And then the remainder of the front of the property will be curbed with a landscape island separating the front of the parking area from the roadway. So in the front of our parking area, we are proposing 10 parking spaces, 4 of which are right up against the building, and one of those is going to be a handicap space. And then we're also proposing 6 more down along the frontage of Washington Avenue. And then as we work our way around, we're proposing a one-way drive aisle that rotates in the counterclockwise direction around the proposed building. Off the north side of the building, you'll see we're proposing 2 parallel parking spaces. And then we're also proposing 4 more parallel parking spaces to the rear of the building. So that's totaling the 16 parking spaces that we're proposing for the site. You'll also notice to the rear of the building, we are expanding the one-way drive aisle to 2 lanes wide. The reason for this is so that we can have space for queuing for the drive-through ATM, which is located along the south side of the building. So going to the rear of the property and around this curve, you can fit about 8 cars in the queue for the drive-through. And then we're also going to have a bypass lane that goes around that, so cars that are just going through have a way to get around the drive-through lane. And then that'll eventually connect back in to the curb cut in the front of the property. We're also proposing a dumpster enclosure in the rear corner of the property. That's going to be a typical dumpster enclosure, so it's going to have a concrete pad as the bottom and a chain link fence surrounding the perimeter of it, and there will be a weekly trash service that'll come get the trash. And the parking area is designed so that the trash truck will be able to maneuver around, pull in, get the trash, and come back out, just like the normal flow of traffic. So next I'm going to talk a little bit about the grading, drainage, and utilities.
I think so. Right?
So grading for the property, we're going to hold the same kind of idea as the existing property is. So the proposed building would be at the high point of the property, and it would gradually slope down towards all the property lines. We're proposing to utilize 3 catch basins throughout the parking area. 1 would be located in the front, and 2 would be located, 1 at each rear corner of the property. These catch basins will collect the runoff and then discharge to 2 underground infiltration systems beneath the parking lot. We have 1 in the rear and 1 in the front. You'll notice that the one in the front is significantly smaller than the one in the rear. That's because this one's just going to collect the front portion of the parking area, whereas the one in back is about double the size as the front one, because that's going to collect the rear portion of the parking area for runoff, and it's also going to collect the runoff coming off of the roof of the bank. So you can see on here we are showing a dark blue line extending around the perimeter of the building. Those are roof leaders that'll discharge to this back right catch basin at the top, and then eventually end up in the infiltration system. Moving over to the front of the building, we are showing this dark green line, which 45 is out here. That's the proposed sanitary sewer line. We're proposing it to be a new line on the property, and then we're at 45s into the right-of-way line. That's where it meets up with the existing sewer lateral that's out there today. So we are proposing to use the existing sewer lateral from the right-of-way line to the sewer main that's in the road. We're going to inspect this prior to construction, make sure that it is suitable for the needs of the building. And the line below that is the pink line. That's what we're proposing as our water lateral. And similar to the sewer lateral, that one will come off the front face of the building and then intersect the existing water main the existing water lateral at the right-of-way line. And then we're proposing to connect in with the existing one from the right-of-way line to the water main in Washington Avenue. And once again, we'll inspect that line as well to make sure it's suitable for the flows created by the new building. Below that line, we have a solid orange line here, and that's the underground electric line. So we're bringing that from the utility pole that's located on the frontage of the property around our infiltration system and into the side of the building on that front corner over there. So that'll be for electric, telephone, and cable. So next, I'm going to move into the proposed landscaping for the property. So per the zoning regulations, we are required to have one ornamental tree in each landscaping island in the parking area. So you'll see on this plan, we have 4 ornamental trees on the front of the property. We would have 1 on the side next to those 2 parallel spaces, then 1 in each corner in the rear. In addition to the trees, we are proposing a line of shrubs along the frontage of the property that'll be about 12 inches high, and they'll extend between the front of the parking area and the sidewalk. That will also be remaining along the frontage. So that's all we're proposing for landscaping.
I said I missed that building.
And then next we have the exterior elevations. I apologize that the page is not in color, but I do have samples of the materials that we'll be using for the building, if you want me to pass them around, or I can just hold them up here, whatever is easier for you.
Yeah, just hold them up, it's fine.
Okay. So this here is going to be the hardy siding, which is in a cobblestone color. It's kind of like a cream, and that's going to be the main bulk of the building, which is the horizontal lines going side to side in the elevations here. The roof is going to use weatherwood shingles for the entire roof area, and that's the sample that I have here. And then we're also proposing a cultured stone bottom that'll span around the entire perimeter of the building. So on this sample here, this bottom brick would be the shelf on top of that layer of stone, and then this is what the stone layer will look like going around the perimeter of the bottom. So all the colors that we're using in the exterior elevation are earth tone colors. So we feel that it's really going to blend in with the landscaping that we're proposing, and also go with the existing buildings that are lined along Washington Avenue. You'll also notice on here that we do have space for signage. And then you'll also notice on the site plan that we are proposing a location for a monument sign located right next to the entryway on the curb cut. And right now we don't have a final design for the signs, but we will be coming back with the sign application for those when we finalize the details with our client, and we'll submit an application with the zoning enforcement officer for those signs when that time comes. So finally, last week we did receive comments from the town engineer and the land use administrator. We did respond to those comments and resend plans over to the town with response letters. I can either go through all the comments with you if you'd like me to do that, or if you have specific questions on certain comments, I could answer it that way too, whatever you want to do.
That's okay, it's okay. Andy, did you look at all the calculations that he was showing us?
For the drainage, yeah. Yeah.
Looks okay?
Yeah, I mean, my only comment was that in the original application, there was no information on the existing soils. And in the supplemental information that we received today, they basically gave me the soil borings.
So we're good to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, and that's all I've got. I'm going to open up the commission here. I just find that the very thorough and well thought out presentation that you
Thank you.
done there. Thank you for doing such a good job. Go ahead.
Okay, just so that everybody knows, what's going on here is Old Glory is on this site now, correct?
Correct.
And what you're proposing is a one-story bank.
Yep.
And while I'm sure I'm going to hear from a lot of people who said we've got nothing but banks in town, everything else, you fit within the regulations, correct?
Correct.
You mentioned the sign. Where would the sign go?
So we're proposing to have a monument sign here, per the
Here.
zoning regulations,
Here, meaning right at the,
at the island between the
Oh,
curb
okay.
cut entrance
Okay.
and the parking area.
okay.
But that's not final. We're just putting that on the plan for now to show that we're thinking about a sign, but we don't have final details on a sign design yet.
Okay, but that will come to us before not to us, but it will come to you guys. Somebody will look at this sign.
Yeah, the zoning
Yes.
enforcement officer will review
Because
that.
obviously we have all those, the usual issues on Washington Avenue, which is, I'm sure it'll be fine.
We do, it's a little difficult, honestly, to get the setback in.
Well, and then the tree comes into play.
With the tree and the boxwoods there, but he said, we'll comply, and the owner has also said, hey, we're not asking for anything more than we're entitled to.
And I think that's a fair comment. Frankly, I see it that way too. Quite frankly, I think the building as it stands is kind of ugly, so this is an improvement. That's all I have.
Okay. So you can meet, when we talked about the conditions, you're okay with those conditions? Okay. And this means Citizens Bank will be moving out of its present location up to here, I'm going to imagine, okay?
Correct.
And I've never seen anyone with a box of rocks before, so hey. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we were supposed to have colored elevations for you, and last minute we didn't,
Yeah.
so we figured we'd bring.
Yeah, no, okay, all right, thanks.
Good enough?
Yeah, I would echo Glenn's comments, very nice presentation.
Thank you.
Can you tell me how you're dealing with Andy's comments about the squeezing in too many spaces in the back?
The 4 spaces in the back. So when we designed this, we were planning on delegating those back 4 spaces and as employee parking spaces. So they will be marked as employee or only parking. So when we thought about that, we figured that if I'm guessing the hard space to get out of will be this one down here by the dumpster. But for an employee, if he's there, he can always move his car when the truck comes to get the trash, or if someone behind him needs to get out. But we figured that if employees were using those spaces and they were familiar with the area, that we'd really like to try and preserve the 4 spaces back there if possible.
Where are you planning on putting snow?
So for the snow, we're pretty much just going to have to plow to the perimeter what it could hold. Then anything more than that is going to have to be trucked off-site. So, I mean, if it's a winter like last winter, it shouldn't be a problem, but if we have a lot of snow, then they'll probably have to find a way to truck snow off the site.
I mean, I'll defer to the commission, but I'd rather see you give up a parking space and have a place to put snow.
I agree with that,
Everyone says
too.
the same thing, we'll
Yeah.
truck it off.
Mhm.
But I've
They
been here
won't.
30 years and I've never seen anybody truck snow off their site. They just lose parking
Yeah.
spaces, so. I think the building's gonna look great, certainly dramatically better than what's there now. Like to see more vegetation, but it's more than is there now, and I think in general, it's gonna be a real improvement to the site, so.
Thank you.
Probably smart.
Okay. Good enough. Okay,
Oh,
Rich?
I'm sorry, one last question. Andy, did you look at the lighting? Is the southern
looking at that, too.
portion
That's right here.
okay? There were half a dozen spots there where it seemed kind of, admittedly know what the low number is. What do you like to see?
There is also some larger numbers too, which don't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, well, there's half a dozen that are down below a half.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's okay.
10.
Yeah, he's talking about, so over here.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's something you can work out with the engineer.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Just as long as you're both aware of it. And if it's fine the way it is, great. It's just that compared to every other lumen rating, it
Okay.
was pretty
Light
low.
levels seem kind of low, yeah.
Just
Quite
on the
honestly,
site
no.
overall or in a specific spot?
Just in the southern corner. If you look, there's a row of numbers that vary around .3, .4. And compared to the whole rest of the
Yeah.
site,
Over here it is
it's
too, but
dramatically
that's, yeah.
lower than the
Yeah.
whole rest of the site, so.
Yeah, I
again,
could talk with our sighting.
It's fixable.
Yeah, I could talk with our lighting engineer, because we are proposing a pole on this side, but for some reason he didn't propose one on this side, so
Again, it's
maybe we can
nothing that
just
can't
mirror
be
that over.
fixed, but
Yep.
rather have it fixed now than after you move in and find that it's
Yep.
too dark. That's it, yeah.
Very good. Rich, go ahead.
No, I'm happy to see that. Good presentation.
Thank you.
Good luck.
No problem. Okay, you boys are all set? Okay. Any further questions from staff? No. Okay, that's it? Okay. Very good, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, this site plan application is closed. Okay, we move along.
Nothing, so these are
We're done.
I think
Except
we
for
are
the
done.
other, except for others.
Well, why don't we do it, deliberation shouldn't take very long.
You want to do deliberations right now?
Yeah, there's only 3 things, and one of them's a continuance,
Or we have
so.
other though?
Yeah, well, we got some other here that.
No, I know, but I would, well, you.
Sure, you
whatever
wanna get it- you
do.
wanna get it over with?
It's your place. I
Sure.
would do the deliberation, because it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, let's go. Can I get a motion to go into deliberation?
Make a motion.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Jim, you do
Yeah, with
on-
regard to 1929,
Yep.
D24 referral, I would move that we give a positive referral for the, ultimately for the subdivided parcel known as 3022 and 3030 Ridge Road for open space, for the acquisition.
Okay, can I have a second?
I'll
Okay.
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is that Richard?
Who's me?
Ron,
Folks,
Aye.
okay, did you get that? Okay, very good. That's out of the way. We'll move along to the first site plan here. We have that a continuation on that.
Well, it's a public hearing, not a second.
the amendment.
Right.
The amendment,
Just
yes.
gonna keep it open.
Yeah, we're gonna keep that open. Okay,
A motion to that account?
I thought we did that, did we do
We
that?
did not.
Huh? Okay, can I
Yeah,
get a motion
you didn't
to
do it yet.
continue it?
I'll make a motion to continue P 1924.
At the applicant's request.
At the applicant's
And I'll
request, correct.
second that.
And Teresa's second. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, very good. It's off. And the bank that we just heard now on 151 Washington Avenue, I think everything was covered. Can I get a motion to approve it?
I will make a motion to approve with the comments.
Okay, surely. And can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All right, have a motion.
Whoa, can I have a discussion?
Sure, sure.
Okay. Andy, what's your thoughts about that parking space? You happy? Do they need space for snow? Can they fit in there or what?
I just think from a planning perspective, it's gonna be tough to get into all
I
4
agree.
of those spaces. And if you just eliminated one space, it would make the whole circulation through the back there a lot easier. And provide space for snow removal and a little more green space too, you know?
Okay, so I'd like to amend the motion to approve, to eliminate 1 parking space in the back at the discretion of between the applicant and the office.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right, we have a motion, and I do have a second in respect to the park and place, and that's in there, and staff has that, and can I get we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed, good to go,
You look confused. You be okay?
very nice, yeah. Okay, can I, are you good, girls?
Yeah.
Okay, can I get a motion to go out of deliberation?
I'll move we go out of deliberations.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, well, so we're out of deliberation. Now, we're gonna get down to other, which would be, well, Jennifer isn't here, is she? No. So, I thought this was for that, this is...
Yeah, we should do the other.
Yeah, the other others.
Okay, okay. Other is, P19-17S, and that is 211 Monowies Avenue. Is there someone here for that? Okay.
This is the,
This is the Boys and Girls Club that we heard a month or so ago, and they're back to, they want to make an amendment to the approval since the school and the neighbors would like to change things just a little bit onto where the actual trees are going to be planted and how they're going to be planted, and so I guess this would make everybody happy.
just before we start, for the record, I didn't sit on this, so I'm not part of this discussion. I suppose I could, but I did not watch it. So I'm
I
disqualified.
think it's a...
I'm recusing myself.
Okay.
Fair enough,
Good enough.
okay.
He's recusing. Let the record show that Jim is recusing, and we're sitting with 4 members. Okay. Okay, go ahead, Eric.
Alan, did everybody receive a copy of the letter?
They did.
They did?
Yes.
And you have that in front of you? Okay, all right, so, basically...
Your name for the record, sir?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Eric Scarnozzo, 2350 Ridge Road,
S-C-A-R.
ANUZZO,
And your address again?
2350 Ridge Road. Thank you. In the approval letter, which we thank you for the approval, paragraph 3 or number 3 in that letter described the way that the arborvitae's, basically privacy wall was going to be constructed. It was very specific in the letter, and in discussion with the neighbors and the property owner, 211 Monteluise, we did not like the way it was described in the letter, and we have another proposed alternative to that, which the Hope Church and the property owners that border the Hope Church on Rock Road are all in agreement that we want it done this way. So we're asking you basically for approval to grant the change to the approval letter.
Okay,
You want me to read it out, or?
sure, by all means do that.
Okay, well, in that letter that you should have in front of you, basically this is the way we'd like to have it read, paragraph 3 or section 3. 1 row of green giant arborvitaes must be planted approximately 10 feet from the rear property line of 1, 3, and 5 Rock Road. These trees will begin at the edge of 5 Rock Road property line that abuts to 11 Rock Road and run approximately 60 feet from the edge of the 1 Rock Road property line that abuts to 211 Monteluise Ave. The total length of the tree line will be about 200 feet long. The trees shall be planted on a berm that is approximately 5 feet wide and 3 feet high. The trees will be about 5 feet in height and planted 5 feet apart. Approximately 40 trees will be planted and 5 trucks, 20 yards of soil per truck of unscreened topsoil will be used to form the berm. Also, the property owners of 11 Rock Road will have 5 emerald green arborvitaes planted on their property at a spot of their choosing. A contract will be signed by the property owners of 5 Rock Road, 11 Rock Road, and 211 Monteluise Ave with the contractor that will be doing the landscaping work, and the Albright Boys and Girls Club will cover all costs associated with the work and pay the contractor directly. And then in addition to that letter that you received, there was also a drawing illustration that shows where the tree and berm line would be. So, again, everybody that's involved in this is in agreement.
The property owners are here.
Property owners are here.
So,
Pastor Jim could not be here from Hope Church, but he's in agreement with this.
sure, as long as everybody's in agreement.
Boys and Girls Club's in agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got any questions, Jim, or Teresa, or Ron, or whoever?
No, if the property owners are in agreement, and I commend everybody for coming together.
Jim, you got anything?
He's recused.
Oh, I'm sorry.
forget already?
You especially want to.
Yeah, if this makes everybody happy, I'm not gonna try to improve it.
If I can just comment too, I appreciate what you did in terms of making the motion. You and Teresa carried the ball on trying to get something that would satisfy the neighbors and also get the use in there. So while they're asking to amend it, I think it was a nice gesture to approve it with the condition, and I think it was pretty close. But anyway, with these tweaks, it seems like it'll make...
Yeah, I think it'll be just more functional and practical considering the way the
That's all
property's
we were
set
trying to
up.
do in the first place.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Very good. Anything from you?
I'm impressed that everybody got together.
25 kids.
Okay, well, I guess that, you got everything worked out, and everybody's happy now, and it's been a long month there, boys.
Sorry to take your whole time up
Thank
and
you
come
so
back.
much.
We would have planned this out beforehand if we knew, we
got
didn't
you.
realize you were going to be so specific in the letter, so,
Well,
you know.
it worked out well, I think.
Next time.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, appreciate it.
Okay, on Sackett Point Road, 250 Sackett Point.
They'll go back and do it over.
250 Sackett Point Road, Sunbelt Rental, you wanted to explain just, well, we have a letter, you got the letter here, so actually, you need some...
Very little.
Yeah, let the director
Very
know,
little.
Jim,
My
you're
name
back
is-
in, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm back in.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Slow down a little too. My name is Richard Como, and I live at 1149 Ridge Road, North Haven. We are here requesting that the board allow Sunbelt Rentals at 250 Sackett Point Road to display some equipment during normal business hours. I've highlighted on the plan the location that they wish to do this. And like I said, it's only for 8 hours a day. And then they take the equipment out. Under no circumstances is the equipment left out overnight. and there'll be no heavy equipment.
Okay, and let me tell the commission, we have Joe Hill, who is from Sunbelt. You want to step ahead, Joe, so if you want to add to this, so we understand exactly what you want?
Where's the driveway?
Over here.
Oh, okay, now.
Joe Hill?
This way.
Well, we just want to put some of the, you want my address?
No, we don't need this address. We'll take it.
21 Rockledge Drive in Madison. We're just looking to put some equipment out front. We rent a lot of the smaller equipment, kind of like a lot of the other places in town, and we're not known for that, so we want to kind of display during the day, attract attention.
It's the smaller things you have, and it's very easy to move out front and take
Right.
them in at the end of the day.
We've got to have someone move them in and out every day. It's not going to be anything big. Doesn't take up a real lot of space. It's not
So-
the big construction equipment.
Okay.
So, looking at the list, like portable air compressor,
Right.
sort of a walk behind, like a tamper thing or something like
A
that?
tamper or
Okay.
a lawn thatcher, landscaping equipment, flooring equipment, just things that, people don't know we have. Without them seeing it, they're not going to come in.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Any?
Yeah, I just had a simple question, and
Go ahead.
I don't really have a problem with this at all. You said you're not really known for that. What do you do? I'm just kind of curious.
We rent all kinds of equipment.
So big stuff
From big
primarily is what you're known
stuff
for?
to
A hammer.
a hammer,
Which we just
sawzalls, anything, lights.
Okay. So for my 2 cents, you really do maintain your property very well. Looks nice. I want to stress that you've said the stuff won't stay there overnight. That's critical in my
We
mind.
can't leave it there overnight just for the corporate policy alone.
I understand, but I want to
So,
make very sure
If we
that
leave it
we're-
out overnight, we got bigger problems than town of North
I got
Haven.
it, but I've been told that before, so I want to be very clear. I mean, the approval would be nothing can stay there overnight. You move it back when you close up at night, put it
Friday, they're
in,
not open on Saturday and Sunday too. so-
whatever, as long as you put it back, I'm good.
Teresa?
No, I'm good. I wouldn't leave it out overnight either. I have a pickup
no
truck. I
problems
drive
with
truck.
patients.
There's a lot of stuff out there.
That's
You don't move it yourself, somebody else will.
right.
Okay, gentlemen?
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
If I could
Thank
just
you very
comment
much.
too, I don't mean to lengthen anything, but I just want to say something. Mr. Hill was not aware of the fact that it was a violation. He thought he could display equipment out there. It is legal to do in your front, 6 feet in front of a building. When he was made aware of it, he stopped. And he
I got
brought it all in, and I
Understood.
have to give
Yep.
Mr. Cuomo credit and Mr. Hill for managing the property properly. I appreciate that.
Sunbelt's a good company, and like I told everybody in the beginning, Alan and so forth, we're not comparing ourselves to anybody. We want to do what's right, do it the proper way. I thought that it wasn't a problem, because years ago I sold my company to Hertz, and we did that down at Hertz, so I just thought that was
Right.
customary, and I didn't know back then, so that's the only reason we did it this time. As soon as I got the letter, I did contact his office, and we took the stuff in.
And didn't put it back out.
Okay,
And we did.
thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Okay, that takes care of that
Do
one.
we need the motion to approve that? Is that
Yeah,
a
we're gonna have,
change?
You
I
should
was
go
gonna go
back
back
into
into
deliberations,
deliberation.
I guess.
I'm just gonna see, we don't have anything else.
No.
Okay.
And
we
do
just got-
both.
Yeah, we'll do them both. Can I get a motion to go into deliberation?
Make a motion.
A second?
I'll second it.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve 211 Monowese Avenue, Boys and Girls Club for the change on the approval?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, can I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
abstain.
opposed?
Jim abstained, right?
Okay, that's correct, yep. Jim, you're back in on 250 Sacker Point Road on Sunbelt. Can I get a motion to approve the displaying of the equipment and taking it in the end of the day?
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carries. Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. All right.
Do we need to do anything with Summer Woods or whatever it is?
His letter?
Summer Wind?
We did Yeah, I was going to say, we did have a letter that was submitted by Tom Roberts, the president of the association there. He spoke with me about that.
I thought that was done, but go ahead.
There's just some concerns they have with the developer, and we're not really a party to those particular concerns, other than the fact that there is a bond that's
Still
out there,
right?
and he wants to make sure we're aware. There is a guardrail, and for safety purposes, he'd like it in there, so anyway, you read the letter, that's what they...
So is there any action required by us at all?
No, there's not.
Okay.
Not until they ask for the bond release.
Well,
Then we'll talk about it, you know,
Okay.
but.
Alan, we're gonna,
Why don't we take a
we're
little
gonna
break?
take, we're gonna take a break right now, call
Wait,
Jennifer.
I'm sorry.
You want to do the
Okay.
minutes?
Yeah,
Is the developer still working there?
Yeah, they're outstanding items. All 18 units have been sold, is my understanding.
Yeah.
So they've been conveyed, but they have not, I don't believe they've turned over the association formally and officially. I think it's still, it's 99% done, and I don't know where they are with their financial.
So they're letting us know before they come in and ask for the bond, they figured,
That's
feel
exactly it,
things
Jim.
aren't done. So we want to talk about this when that time comes.
Yeah, and we don't have an as-built, we don't
I got
have
it.
a bond
Okay.
release, so it's
Okay.
a little premature,
Time,
but they
all
want to
right.
get in first.
Good for them.
Well, I remember having the problem with Quail Run, and the problem that we have with some of the residents is, you get issues like closet bowls and
Right.
and
Yeah,
things
they're
along
not
the line, so
ours.
you kind of got to
Right.
sort it out a little bit. but anyway.
Okay, hold it. We're still in deliberation.
Yeah.
I'd like to get a motion to approve the minutes for August 5th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, can I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay. Now, can I get a motion to go out of deliberation?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good,
And
okay.
if we could just take a break and let me see what I,
By all means,
What I
give
can
Jennifer a
do.
call, see if we can...
sounds good.
Kurt pulling in here now, actually. Okay, that's good.
Who's that? What's it about?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Vern, are we
I
back?
haven't even...
You're chairman.
Okay,
Here we are.
okay. We'll be back in a minute, folks.
Let's see. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 minute, I've got to do it one more time. Let's see, one more time. Okay, thank you.
You all set?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, folks, we're back from the break, and at this time, we're going to go into an executive session, and then we'll be back after that to get adjournment. Those of you who want to leave, by all means do, but we're going to go, can I get a motion to an executive section?
So I'll make a motion, we go into executive session and we invite the town engineer, the land use administrator, and the town attorney to come with us into executive session.
Okay, I got the motion, have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed, good, okay. That's it. Well, yeah. Let's put on TV, we think we've got some people left over.
Just heard tonight.
I just heard that as well.
He had a stroke.
Yeah.
All right, we're back.
We're back.
Okay, okay, folks, we're back from executive session, and, can I get a motion to go out of executive session?
I'll make a motion to come out of executive session.
I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed? Okay, okay, business is now taken care of. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Sorry, is that Rich? Sorry.
I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We're gonna stand adjourned.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.